I hope you can hear me. Yeah, now works. Okay. So, guys, thank you for inviting me. It's a very pleasure for me. It's an honor to stay with you today, and congratulations for your event. I think it's very inspirational and very interesting for the wine world. So, with you guys today, I like to try some things. Some things we observe it comes from our experience around the world in the last 36, 37 years. We are focusing, me and our team, we are focusing the focus are about the relation between the humans and the vines. So not easy for the vines. But anyway, we try today to share some considerations about, guys, the evolution of the climate. It's everybody knows, and everybody knows we have a dynamic changement, a dynamic evolution of the climate, but not only of the climate. So when we spoke about the farming in this case, we spoke about viticulture. So maybe we need to think about some situations, and I like to share with you in the beginning some information. So everybody knows about the climate evolution. Everybody knows about the evolution of the increase, in particular, the temperatures and the reduction of the precipitation. So it's a very, every day we spoke about this. Every day, every season, in every situation around the world, season after season, we think very often about these stuffs. This is an interesting point, just to think again about the evolution of not only of the climate, but when we speak about the viticulture farming, and we can watch the shift of the areas where we have vineyards cultivation. So in the red color, you can see the areas where we have the vine regions, current vine regions. In the light blue, we have also the areas with a suitable temperature in the 2000s, and we can also observe in the line with the big blue line, with the suitable temperatures in 2000. So we can, if you maybe check where you are, guys, and just to think about what we can observe in terms of dynamic evolution in our world. I think we are always around the dynamic evolution. So we never stop to observe this. I think it's very important to stay with this evolution and try to understand what we can do today and maybe think about something for tomorrow. So all you guys know about some consequences of this. I go around the world every day. I'm very lucky because I travel a lot around the world. So I spoke every day with the different winemakers and wineries around the world, and often the guys say to me, "Hey Marco, what do you think about?" We have often some problems with, for example, the summer drought or heat streaks, and particularly in some areas with the good ripening situation about in relation of the in relation of the weather condition of the season after season. And everybody knows about also some bad consequences of the sunburn with the overexposure of the grapes and the leaves, and the problems in ripening, less production, weight, because also, the deshydratation. Even this year, in some areas around the world, we observe a lot of deshydratation. And the winemakers not very happy, but I think always about the vines also, you know what I mean? I'm very in the side vines, and I like to stay in this side, but I also like to understand what the humans like to bring some from this farming cultivation. And often also the winemakers, when we do the testing, they say, hey, Marco, come on to test the wines and understand what happened in this different season after season, the climate evolution. And say, okay, guys, we have often less acidity, we have maybe sometimes or often very, very fast ripening. We have also a lot of sugar and a very fast ripening the last part of the season. What we can do, Marco? I don't know. I'm not, but I just observe this, movement around the world. It's very common to speak about this. So, okay, we have some, not problems, but we have some reflections with some things. So, anyway, I think we need to think about less water supply and for plants drought. And in terms of what we can do today and what we can think to do for tomorrow, I think it's not the solution to put the irrigation everywhere and increase the quantity of the water to try to help the vines. Maybe, I don't know, in some situations maybe yes, but I don't believe a lot in this approach. I believe more into the try to increase the water efficiency. So in terms of what we can do today and think for tomorrow, for try to have a better efficiency, to use better the efficiency of the water. But in the other side again, and this is very my side, it's what we can do for try to help the vine to resist better in this dynamic evolution of the climate change, of the climate. I don't like a lot to climate change, but the dynamic evolution of the climate. I spoke often with some experts of the climate, and they say the dynamic evolution of the climate. So I believe we can try to understand better in the plants, in the vine side, what we can do for help the vines to resist better in the difficult seasons, in the difficult regions, and try to think what we can do today and what we can do again for the next, for the future. But I believe it also in what we can do today, okay? So, in the other side, we have one side the water, in the other side heat strike temperatures. So, again, to have a dynamic reaction, because we have the vines, we have the vineyards, we cannot change the situation very fast. We need to adapt and play together with the dynamic evolution of the vine and of the climate. So we need to are dynamic. So I think we can speak about try to protect from the grapes from the sun, to overexposure of the sun, the grapes. And the very interesting point in my side particularly is try to design new architecture for the vines, in according with the evolution of the climate again. So this is a very interesting point. This is a very dynamic point. I don't believe in the one trailing system for all the life of the vines. I believe into the dynamic evolution of the architecture of the vine in according with the life of the vines. You know what I mean? And again, try to improve the canopy management techniques. But okay, go a little bit more deep around these issues. So plant management methods in the face of the climate evolution. So plants, so vines, more resistant to the climate stress. I think we can to preserve water condition inside the plants. And this is one of the main points, the main issue for the vines in the beginning and for the humans after. But is the main issue for the vines. We can help the vines with a better conduction for water, nutrients, and storage, and blah, 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 after I try to go more deep in this issue. And this we can change today. You can change today if you like. You need to observe your vines. You need to stay with them and help your guys work in the fields for understand what they can do today for help the vines to increase nutrients, better conductive water, and blah, 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 after I go more deep. And point little bit more technique, but not now. Just to say in this moment, think guys to build more live wood for your vines. In terms of build the structure, when you have the young vines, when you have the middle-aged vines or the olders, you need to observe the evolution of the dye structure, but you need to observe if the vines with the domestication come from the humans have the possibility to increase the live wood. So, if not, it's a big problem. First of all for the vines, second for the humans. But this is another very interesting point for me. Another chapter about the design new architecture. So, pay attention about the terroir. This is very, what do you say, everybody knows, okay, we need to stay in according with the terroir. But often, this is not true. The evolution of the approaching of the humans in the different areas in the world and the plant vineyards in the main districts, or I don't know, maybe switch also and follow the new areas. It's not always in according with the terroir. The terroir is very interesting issue. It's very complex issue. So the soils, weather condition, the microclimate situation, the variety, so the genetic compounds, the goal in terms of, which kind of wine you like to do, and the approaching of the humans. So a lot of variabilities play inside in the terroir. But again, pay attention in terms of to this point, because not often we are in according with the terroir, with our decisions for help the vines to become more resilient. So, dynamic architecture change during the life, or say, okay, for example, I saw people around the world use some trailing system or some architecture, okay, and keep the same architecture for, I don't know, how many years. If you keep the same architecture for a lot of years, the vine don't follow you. The vines abandon you guys. You know why? You know, because the vine's still alive and need to have a dynamic develop of architecture. If you not follow this, the vine not follow you, abandon you. Start deterioration, you lost positions, lost production, lost energy, you have some indicators, but you need to put a lot of attention for understand these indicators in advance and not too much late. So we need to switch our approach, in my opinion. I believe we need to speak and think and do about dynamic architecture of the vines in according with the life, with the age of the vine. So we need to switch, to change, to move the architecture in according with the space you have available and the age of the vines. Not easy, but you can do. We can do today also try to use some, some actions for try to protect the grapes from the sunburn. And we have different options to play and to do. And the end, but not for the important, it's the plant density. It's another big issue. So I don't like to push a lot in this, but I like to also to think about this because often we are not very in according with the terroir variety and the other stuffs and the density of the plantation. Because when we speak about, I don't like to speak natural vineyard, natural, it's farming, it is not natural. So we can stay more close to the nature of the vine to become more naturality approach. But it is not natural, because guys, what is the vines in the nature is a creeper. You know what I mean, the creeper? Yeah, so when we speak about farming, this is the main problem for the vines. So we need to understand very well the density point and where we are, terroir, varieties, and stuff like this, and think about this. Okay. Go with the first in terms of, again, try to help the vines to become more resilient with the climate. And, again, when we think about, the farming and the people try to, in according with the density, the distance between vine and vine, the height of the post and the canopy, and when you choose a trailing system, I like to are very clear with you guys. It is not about which kind of trailing system you choose. I don't believe exists one better to other. Depends of your approaching. So you can play and do well and respect it with your vines, with every kind of architecture. I show you some photos, but doesn't matter if some photos come from, I don't know, everywhere, but I don't know which kind of trailing system, okay? In this case, maybe cordon or guyot, I don't know what, okay? This is a problem from humans and vines, and the reaction of the domestication into the vines. So, one of the main points I saw around the world, we have a lot of scare, humans, a lot of scare to lose the control of the vines developing the time and during the life of the vines. So, we are very geometrical, we have a very geometrical approaching. So we have scare to lose, for example, often in the cordons or in the guyot or in I don't know what kind of trailing system or architecture, lost space and lost the develop of the structure of the vine. And so the first reaction of the human is to try to control the develop of the vines in the time. And this is one of the main problems for the vines, because if you think about the dynamic evolution of the structure of a vine, you think about something like a tree. You have a trunk, a main trunk, you have arms, the second arms, you have the third arms, till the more young arms, and close to the leaves and shoots. So you have the chronology, and the chronology grow in according with the life, with the age. So the space is one of the main limits for grow well and keep with you and healthy and stronger and resilient vines for a long time. The risk is to lose the vines heritage and the energy and the healthy after, 15 or 20 years or 30 years. But the potential of aging of your vines is more and more and more. So, what is the consequence of the pruning? And don't forget, guys, we prune every year. You prune, maybe, I don't know you yourself, but maybe your teams or don't know who, but the team every year. So it's not one time during the life, but every year. So these wounds, just to control the development of the vines in the space. Oh wow, 5 minutes. Thank you for letting me know. It's very, very difficult for me. Sorry. Let me know how much I can shift. Okay, and we have the very important consequences inside the structure of the vines. Apart the disaster consequence in terms of lost production, lost energy, need more inputs. If you're not prune in the good way, the vines need more input, more water, more nutrients, more sustain from the humans. But you lost a lot of money, you lost a lot of production, you have uneven ripening, you have uneven morphology of the grapes, uneven, weight of the bunches. So it doesn't matter which kind of trailing system, inside the structure of the vines, after the pruning, you have the desiccation cones, and with the desiccation cones, you have the consequences in terms of safflow, way of the safflow, irregular safflow, or regular safflow. So you can increase or you can reduce the way of the safflow, and with the safflow, the nutrients. You can see different approaching around the world. The humans normally, doesn't matter which kind of architecture, have two reactions. One, which go and back. So we call cut big cuts, or we have a crow hand approaching. But the reaction inside the vines, you can see the two vines in the middle of the photo. You can see the internal side of the structure. Again, when you prune every year and you not are you do not put enough attention in this, you also risk to introduce with the wounds the fungi. And a lot of fungi is a very complex situation. I don't like to speak about this now, but it's very big issue, a problem around the world. So, wounds, cut, desiccation cone. With the desiccation cone, with the wounds, the fungi jump inside the structure of the vine and start the deterioration. So you don't increase the live wood year after year, but you can reduce the live wood year after year and increase the desiccation cone, the risk of the fungi, and all the other stuffs. But you can imagine these guys during the summertime when need water and need... you can see this structure, not old vines. It's around 15 or 20 years. The risk of collapse and cavitation embolism increase a lot, particularly during the climate change. If you have summers with a very high temperature and not rain, and you need a very good pump, hydraulic pump, for roots, trunk, arms, shoots, leaves, and go back. If you not have a good pump, you risk a lot, the vines risk a lot the collapse. So the cavitation, embolisms, or apoplexis, if you have also trunk disease, for sure, you increase the risk to lost vines during the life of this. And you can imagine around the world I know a lot of people, particularly in the main districts, but not only, put a lot of new vines in the middle of the survivals. Because, year after year, some percentage of the vines did in the consequences of this, okay? So we can put new vines in the middle of the others and try to be care of this. But it is difficult during the climate stress, during the summertime, to have a young vines with the good resilient like the olders, you know what I mean? So it's another important thing. So what we try to do with our approaching, we try to develop the structure step by step, doesn't matter which kind of architecture you use, so to build the chronology. The chronology is super important because you build live wood year after year. And you can see different trailing system, different architecture, where you have the chronology. Please observe the diameter of the shoots, the morphology of the branches, and the diameters of the shoots, guys, this is very important. We are in the cava meeting. I work a lot in Champagne. It's another place, very well. But the winemaker asked me, hey, Marco, please try to think about with pruning and shoot selection to have a good develop of the shoots, because we like to have a good diameter shoot forever. If we have a good diameter shoots, we have a good weight of the branches. If we have a good weight of the branches, it is more easy for us to press in the good way for our juice, for do the champagne. You know what I mean? And this is, for example, one issue come from the good vascular system, the good quantity of live wood, the good nutrients. If we don't have enough of this, we have uneven develop of the shoots and increase the risk of the sunburn. We have uneven ripening, we have overexposure to the sunburn, etc. Different architecture, but always with the branching. Observe, please, always with the shoots develop in diameter. Another important thing, we need to preserve try to stay with the subflow, so not change the direction of the subflow. These examples come from, not important, maybe Bordeaux, but anyway, in the right side, you can see the bad approach of the pruner, so cross cuts and a difficult way for the subflow and the cross wounds become with the desiccation cone, irregular subflow, and increase the risk for the pathogens. In the left side, you can see all the wounds on top. The way of the subflow is very clean in the bottom side without interruptions, and we can increase the nutrients, and we have a good way. And you can imagine when you have the stress. Here is very clear. In the top part of this branching, you can see the consequences of the wounds and the respective wood, and we stop the development of the desiccation cone, no fungi, no desiccation cones developing, and a lot of white wood, live wood, with full of nutrients, full of water, and this is super important. The same situation, same age, two different causal approaching. In your left, you can see the consequences of the bad pruning practices, a bigger cut return. In the other side, you can see the vines without return cut, with all the wood alive, and you can see and imagine. This is a very interesting example. This is Capso in Chile, for example. You can see this structure. It's a cordon in the horizontal cordon with the different points potential. You can see inside all the brown color. It's a desiccation cone, so dead wood. The yellow, it's a fungi area. Okay, the consequence of the fungi. The only white, small line, it's live wood. In the same vineyard, you can see the brother or sister. The same vineyard, okay? So this and this, brothers or sisters, okay? So branching with the points, you can see the chronology. So you can see the diameter of the shoots, the branching till the cordon, and this is inside. So I have a question for you guys. In the climate evolution, during the climate evolution, during the summer without water, or with the high temperatures, in your opinion, which kind of vine resists better in the climate evolution change? This guy or this guy? Yeah, for sure. And because the big difference is because here we have a respected approaching with the branching, okay? Dynamic evolution of the architecture in the time in accordance with the age, and here not. So this is just an example. We have other examples around the world. The other important thing is to do the small ones, just to try to preserve better all the way of the safflow, and also this is another very important point. We study a lot with different universities and institutes around the world that we call the respect wood, just to reduce the bad effects of the desiccation cones. Some examples, good examples of branching. For example, this is vines of 36, 37 years old. We can, if you like to see inside what happened, and when we can do something today. We can help the vines to become more resilient, okay? Not only with the organic or biodynamic, I like a lot, I love this approaching, but we need also to stay more time and spend more energy and try to teach and coach the people work in the fields around the world to increase the sensibility, to respect more the vines, even if the vines are domesticated. We speak about farming, okay? We need more respect, and we need to increase the skills for these guys to think more about this and put more value in terms of recognize these skills for the people working in the fields. You know what I mean? So, and believe me, you have a very consistency production, morphology of the grapes, ripening, good ripening in terms of, and you can see the percentage of the vines did in the 30 years or 36 years, it's around 3 or 4%. If you compare with the bad practice pruning, maybe after 36 years, you have a new vineyard because you need to pull it out, or you have the 30 or 40% of the vines lost it or more. So think about also the money, sustainability approaching, try to build vines, more sustainability, less inputs come from the humans, more outputs come from the vines. And again, the last part, and sorry about this, it's super fast, it's right, about the architectures and design. So the terroir adaptation, the VSP, we can see VSP around the world everywhere, even in the not good terroir. Think about this, because the risk of the VSP, it's, in my opinion, if not very in accordance with the terroir, we can do very good practices with organic, biodynamic, grass, cover crops, mulching, a lot of stuffs, and try to help the vines with a good pruning. But, you know, this is I like to go a little bit more deep. If you like, maybe we can discuss together after, if we have time, about this issue. But I like to show you also, we have some examples around the world, what people do today with the use the VSP and try to protect better the grapes from the sun exposure. So you have some examples come from different parts of the world, just to try to play in the dynamic way also the canopy, just not stay like a VSP classic, but also try to think about the dynamic management of the canopy during the season in according with the character of the season. Another point, super important point is, guys, please, if you like to help your vines, build the vines step by step, not move too much fast. So when you grow your vines, I suggest you to build the vines step by step and grow enough structure and nutrients. And in this case, you can also keep more energy and more canopy, maybe for protect naturally the grapes with the risks in terms of overexposure to the sun or high temperature. I love my inspiration. One of my inspiration was the bush vines. I was inspired for the bush vines in my lives. I'm very fascinated about the bush vines always, and I also learned a lot from the bush vines. So we can also we try to do something also in the bush vines for try to protect better also the grapes, okay, in according with the structure of the vine, for reduce the risk during the summertime. But this is an amazing example. Observe, please, these situations for understand what is the dynamic evolution of the architecture in according with the age of the vines. So, if you like to keep the vines with you, you need to have a dynamic evolution. So this is an example, amazing, of branching. Other examples about, I think is very interesting for try to protect better. We also try to do some different approaching also in some areas in Spain, for example, in Rueda or in Rioja, just to try to protect better the grapes come from the sun. The last one, I try to go very, very fast, is only about the density. So we have different examples around the world, high density and maybe also less density. I think it's very important to understand where you are, which kind of variety you have, which kind of climate situation you have, and try to stay in this way and build architecture and think about density more close in according with where you are, with the climate situation, with the terroir, with the character of the soil, with the character of the cepage, the variety, and all these things. So not pay attention about this point, please. New techniques, we try to find some solutions for today, for example, to reduce the canopy. So in some areas where we have a lot of sun exposure, high temperatures, no water, we try to reduce the canopy just to observe the reaction of the vines in some varieties. This, for example, is Sangiovese in Italy. And we also observe the different interesting reaction in terms of develop of laterals, natural protect of the vines from the sunburn, of the grapes from the sunburn, time of the ripening, and the composition of the grapes, also the morphology. It's very interesting to understand what it's just need to go ahead to understand. So it's again dynamic approach. We need to maybe to try to play some different approaching in according with the evolution of the climate, even in the canopy management, not only in the architecture of the vine, even in the canopy, and observe what happened in the terms of grapes and composition and timing of ripening. And of course, we also, with some wineries, some wineries try to find the results in terms of wine composition, wine testing and understand what change in the two different approaching like this. Or we can also use for today some shadow tents, and we have, for example, the 8th August, Sangiovese, with the without tents, this kind of veraison, and in the same day with the tents, in the 8th August, we have this kind of veraison, so you can see the ripening is little bit more late. And this is the temperature under the tents, no shadow tents, 47 degrees, the 25 August, and under the shadow tents, 40 degrees in the same day, in the same hour. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your passion. Sorry for my over time exposure.
Well, good morning. For me, it's a pleasure to be here today. And well, first of all, thank you. I would like to thank the organization for this generous invitation. And today I will introduce some works that we have done on the aging. And but also I would like to introduce first of all some basics on fermentation. Well, let's change it a little bit. So this is just to introduce the second fermentation. Second fermentation in a sparkling thread, in a cava, I would say, has mainly 3 phases. So these 3 phases, first one is you can see in red that the population of the yeast increases a lot. Pressure don't increase so much, and the activity of the yeast as yeast are growing is quite high. So that this a little bit what happens at the beginning of the second fermentation, and it takes more or less time depending on the temperature. So higher temperatures, this will be a shorter period. Lower temperatures, this period will be longer. And this period stops when the carbon dioxide starts to inhibit the growing of the yeast. So in the second phase, what happens is that the growing of the yeast stops. Consumption of sugar also are in a plateau. And we can see a linear increase of the pressure, but the yeast cannot multiply because the stress created by the carbon dioxide is so high that it's not affordable, this growing. So what is important is that in this phase, in this moment of the second fermentation, we get at least 4 million of yeast per ml. So a good quantity in order that the second fermentation could be done properly. So that is what happens in the second. And in the third phase, you can see that the pressure in black has a little bit of a slugging, and so it's hard for the yeast to finish the fermentation. And the population in red, you can see that slowly going down. Also, depending on the temperature, this period could be also long and sometimes don't finish. If the temperature is the main is the main driver here. So the temperature is so low, sometimes we had some residual sugar into the bottle. But yeah, at least if you have 4 million, it works. So what happens in the third? I will focus a little bit in the third phase. In this third phase, as you can see, the yeast starts to be no viable, so it starts I would say, to death, but it's not really death, it's lose viability. And what happens is what we call the autophagia. Autophagia or autophagy is a process that has been widely described. Well, I lose here. This is from a work from a researcher from the University of Barcelona, Rebecca Tudela, who has studied a little bit this process. And we can see that there is the B market forms that are vacuoles. These vacuoles is like a way that the yeast it cannot consume the sugar. So what they do is try to live basically that they themselves. So it's quite easy, but without losing a lot of viability. So, but as it is an irreversible process, it will finally be the autolysis that everybody talks and everybody knows. So, but it is a process that starts with this, with just an autophagy, we can say. How many time takes this process? So, the process of fermentation, here you can see a word, I don't have a pointer, but in blue you can see the time that takes at 10 degrees, the fermentation. This is from a recent work from a Brazilian researchers that have seen that the viability in the traditional method keeps higher than in Charmat method. It was a little bit surprising this, and you can see that the viability in the violet color it has been disappeared. Sorry, but the blue is traditional and the violet is Charmat method. Okay, in Charmat method, what they do is stir the yeast in the bottom of the tank every day. So it's not continuously, but quite frequently. And on the contrary, traditional method, as you know, is a fermentation on surface. So the yeast remains at the bottom of the bottle, and it's just the liquid who's turning and makes the fermentation as we can say. We call it a fermentation on surface because the yeast remains quiet in the bottom. So with this difference, we can see that there is more viability in the traditional method, and it could be hypothesized. In fact, the authors say something about it that something that has not been explained till now, that the yeast who are dying, who are not becoming viable, they feed the other yeast that are beside, and this is something that happens when you have the yeast stacked at the bottom of the bottle, but when you stir the yeast, there is not this contact effect that you can find in the traditional method, and so maybe this is the reason, probably this is the reason of the higher viability of the yeast in these conditions. One I've been talking before about the temperature, but temperature also is involved in the integrity of the integrity of the membranes, and seems it is one of the factors that is the cause of the stacking fermentations by temperature. So, and this is because of the membrane integrity at higher temperature, we lose more quickly the integrity, and so the process of autolysis is much faster. So as you can see, at the week 26, there is no more integrity in the membrane than in the case of lower temperature. So another factor that is, people are talking about acidity and about pH, and we also look at this is not an experiment, an experiment from our university, from a researcher from our lab, and this is an experiment when we treat the grape juice in order to change the pH with something that call it an ionic exchange. So we change the pH, changing potassium ions by protons, and so we can have, well, it has disappeared, sorry about that, but on the top of my presentation was the pH of the wine. The first one is pH 3.15, and on the contrary, the last one is a pH of 2.85. And what was surprising for us is we expected that the autolysis, so it is in the light blue, you can see with a more aging cava, and we expected more autolysis at lower pH. On the contrary, we didn't find it. So for us was also something surprising on the aging time. Going ahead, now I will explain. We will focus more on the long aging. So we did with our researcher also a study of sparkling wines. So we study the list of cava wines from the first years to 9 years. So it means we check the list from the first year, second year, and until the ninth one. And we were interested in what happens with the list in his role of oxygen consumption, I would say on protection of the wines. Here, just to illustrate a little bit, a nice picture. This is I put in my original presentation, sorry about that, the name of the author, because was a PhD student, Pere Pons, who's also a cava producer and winemaker, and he was doing the PhD with us. And this picture is an electronic microscopy transmission. So, and you see the starter culture, a very big and nice cell, and how is degraded from year to year until at the 9th year that you cannot see anything there. So it's like a cardboard or like a paper straw. So with this, we have this environment, and so we know that, and also has disappeared something here. So sorry. So we know that the bottles are not a close, I would say, fermentator or model, as you want. And so we know that there is an exit of carbon dioxide. This exit of carbon dioxide is more or less from 0.6 to 1 gram per liter of carbon dioxide. And we have also an entry of oxygen into the bottle that, yes, it oxidates the wines. And On the contrary, against this entry of oxidation, we have the leaves that people say that leaves are reductive. Everybody says leaves are reductive. Leaves consume oxidation, yeah. But also we have other antioxidants in the wine, that is the polyphenols, I would say. So what we did is, from the different years, separate the leaves, wash the leaves, and keep in a system that we have in a model. We have a model to study the oxygen consumption. That is, we put a lot of oxygen in a model solution, and we check the disappearing of the oxygen. And when we look at the data, here is what we have. So we get an increase of the consumption in the least from the second year. First year, not a lot. Second year seems that there is this consumption is bigger. Third year, similar to the first, and later on we have a stable, low consumption of oxygen. And what is interesting is that if we compare this, all these experiments were done at lab temperature, so 20 degrees should be considered that. So what we saw is in red we have the oxygen permeability across a regular crown cap, and in blue we have what we find accumulated, I would say, the consumption from the leaves. And surprisingly, well, it's quite similar to the Grand Reserva cavas, or that at 3 years, more or less, we find that the lease, the protection is the lease is when is the limit. So after 3.7 years, what we find is that the oxygen that gets into the bottle is not so protected from the lease. Then we have the polyphenols that can act there, could be oxidized, and then also change these flavors of umamic flavors, smoking flavors, and we were talking before, so as hopefully will appear in the later period when we oxidize other things than the lease, as we can say. So more or less talking about what happens with the sensory effects of the aging time. We have effects on the aroma, on the flavor, on the bubbling. I would say that nucleic acid has been postulated as one of the molecules that could impact on the flavor. Even the concentrations that people have found, the researchers have found, are under the threshold of perception. But anyway, it seems that the thresholds are something is something complicated to evaluate. So it could be also synergies with other molecules that also implies the nucleic acids, the proteins, as previously have been talking on the amino acids. Are also is postulated that some of the proteins could add as a super sweeteners, but has not been already demonstrated that. And also there are other molecules that, like the lipids. Lipids are related to the aroma. Some, for example, the beta-damascenone, that is an norisoprenoi that belongs to the lipids, could increase the aroma of the fruity aroma or peach, this peach aroma, and polysaccharides on the bubble size and on the persistence of the of the aroma, because in general on the bubble size, a lot of talking. Part of the bubble size, the stabilization of bubble size is, and bubble stability is related to amphipathic molecules. If you have amphipathic molecules, and also amino acids could play a role here, polysaccharides, and even nucleic acids could play because they are amphipathic molecules. So yeah, it's just as an example we did in our lab, show you what happens with the polysaccharides. This is an example of two sparkling wines and the base wine, and this is the polysaccharide profile. So as the fraction goes with the time, is smaller, so the F5 are the smaller polysaccharides. A polysaccharide of 1 kilodalton is about 10 sugars. Well, even a little bit less, 5, 6 sugars. So the small molecules seems that plays a bigger role than the big ones. Yeah, and now I will change a little bit because traditionally has been postulated that cork plays a role in the closure, and some producers also use the cork in tirage. And yeah, we have some studies, and we should just here I will hypothesize an effect, and but we should go further on that. And we studied. This is work that we did for the OIB, and we also is published. All the data I show you was published by several researchers, or some us as others. But we studied this work from us, and we studied the consumption of oxygen with a similar system than the lease, with different kind of polyphenols. And we saw that we studied gallotannins. Gallotannins are used to clarify wines usually. Procyanidins and for delphinides that are the typical great seed tannins, so it is the tannin more frequently found in wine. Also the profisetidine and phorobitidines, that is from quebracho, that is an additive that could be used for wine. And finally also the elagitannins. And the elagitannins are the tannin that, for example, is a typical tannin from the French oak. So the main difference on French oak is that French oak has, from French to American oak, the French one has 100 more times elagitannins than the American oak, in general, I would say. So, and we study the rate of consumption of oxygen, and we saw that the biggest consumption was the elagitannins. And so looking at that, and looking at also there is no looking at the composition. This is the composition of the cork. So the cork, we study which kind of tannins we have in the cork. You can see that here is ellagic acid. Ellagic acid is tannins, ellagic tannins, I would say. And you look at the total, you can see that from 70 to 90% of the tannins of the cork are highly oxygen consumers. That is interesting because finally, when we close a bottle with a cork and we put in horizontal position, the wine is constantly in contact, and besides, it can apport that the main flavor that apports the cork is the vanilla. Vanilla. This is the aroma of vanilla, and we can see that it's different from this. This is from a study Sugarbean that made some years ago, but they saw that the vanilla is different in depending on the origin of the cork, and but what happens is that we have the cork, we have the wine, and the wine is fully in contact with the cork. So a dissolution on place of the tannin could be expected, and then reacting to the oxygen that is getting into the bottle, and maybe for this reason, it should be proved, but it seems so suitable that. So this could be the hypothesis of the reason of this for these useful characteristics of the cork for long agings. And that's all. So just thank you very much. It's not my work; it's the work of all our team. And thank you very much. And if you have some question, it would be a pleasure for me to answer. But if not, so I will be later on here if you want. So thank you.